What's up, guys? Matt Vaughan here. Wait, what just happened? Anyway, I'm here today just bringing you a quick video. Not a true proper vlog, but there's going to be some hand review. Normally, when I get messages on Instagram, it's not anything I want to make a video about. It's just someone saying hi, appreciate the vlog, something like that. And I love all those messages. The message I got today, or late last night, was about a hand. And I thought the hand was worthwhile to talk about, and I won't be putting another video out for a couple days, so figured why not throw it in here. I'm just going to run through the whole hand in the way he's described it, because there's a couple language things I want to point out and talk about. And then we'll jump into the actual strategy, the concepts in the hand. Let's get into it. He asks if it's possible to review this hand he played. He has some questions regarding his play and wanted another opinion, which is always great, by the way. If you can do that, just even honestly running it by anybody so you can kind of run your thought process against theirs, it's always helpful. Okay, so he describes the table as being passive and full of bad rec players. The stakes are 2-2. I assume it's no limit. We've got a couple of folds. The hero has $680 and is in under the gun +2. And opens king 9 of hearts to 8. The low jack, 3-bet small. The button calls, small blind calls, and hero elects to call as well. It says the reasoning here is that they make a lot of mistakes post flop, and I close the action. Downside is I'm out of position, but I can navigate post. Other downside is if he whiffs completely, he thinks I'm stranded with fit or fold. He flops a flush draw. He checks and calls, and he says, I see no value in raising. The c-bet indicates he has 90% sure a made hand. First of all, I'm not sure if he's saying that because he has some understanding of the player, or if he is sort of generalizing. I'm gonna assume that he actually has the knowledge to make this read, to make it accurate. He then goes on to say, I block ace king of hearts, so that is unlikely. We talked about this already, and he mentioned that he was just sort of typing fast. Obviously, if we have the king of hearts, then ace king of hearts isn't unlikely. It's just not possible. So just wanted to call that out quick. Small blind calls with a variety of holdings. I want to realize my equity, so flatting is fine, I think. Turns to queen clubs. He picks up a gut shot and checks and overcalls again. So he says, I had equity with my gut shot now. To me, the low jack is capped at ace, ace, king, king, queen, queen, and jack, jack. Sets are the latter two. So here's the biggest thing I wanted to call out. So when you talk about someone's range being capped, what you're really saying is they can't hold the nuts, or they can't kind of hold the strongest tier of hands. And the hands that he points out are two overpairs, which are definitely not the nuts, but then he points out queens and jacks, which are the best two possible hands on this board currently. So I just wanted to call out the fact that this is sort of an improper use of the word capped. And I think that in general, it can be semantics sometimes to argue about language in the game, but language is really important because it's how we convey information. And a lot of times, if your language that you use is something that's sort of widely accepted in the poker community for what it actually means, then using it incorrectly is just going to misconvey the meaning of what you're trying to say. In some cases, there are words like tag or lag that describe something and aren't necessarily going to completely describe what you're saying, and so then it's kind of there's wiggle room in terms of the perception. But this, I think, has a pretty clear meaning, so we want to make sure we're using it correctly and not getting turned around. And I think where this tends to come from is like the pervasiveness of training videos and people sort of semi-passively watching training videos and, picking up some of the language, some of the jargon without always fully comprehending what it means. And that's not to call out this particular guy. I've definitely been guilty of it too, and I see it everywhere. People sort of pick up the language and they pick up how to sound like a strong player before necessarily understanding the things that they're saying. And lastly, a lot of times people can use the language, perhaps even use it correctly, but they don't know how to actually apply what they're talking about in game. So here's just a quick example of that. He mentions a couple other things in the hand, like the game flow and the dynamics. It does seem like he has a read on this player, so we're going to assume that for the rest of the hand. Thinks he will never bet this type of situation without a made hand, so he's kind of setting up his read for the next street, which is helpful, because on the next street we actually hit a gut shot with the 10, but that also brings in ace king. So he's effectively saying that he doesn't think the guy ever has ace king, and I won't go on to the result just yet. For now, let's move past this and get into how I think he played the hand. So the hero opens king 9 of hearts under the gun +2 to 8. I definitely think this is a little bit on the loose side, but I don't have a huge problem with it if you're at a kind of passive table, particularly if it's a little bit like on the nittier side, where you expect to, you usually only get like one caller or something. And when I say nittier, I don't really mean like true nits. I just mean you're not going to get 5 callers when you make it 8. That being said, I might make it a little bit bigger. You are playing 2-2, so opening to 4x is actually going to be kind of on the small side. And in general, live opens should be a little bit bigger just because people don't fold enough. We end up getting 3-bet by the low jack, but it's a very small size, tons of money behind, and there's 2 other callers. So I definitely like the decision to overcall. You're basically continuing for some combination of implied odds, though, because once you go this multi-way, you're just not going to be able to take down the pot without showdown all that often. So we get to the flop with $82 in it. We flop the flush draw, jack high board. We check it. I think that's totally standard, totally fine. In our ideal world, it would maybe get checked around and we could just bet the turn or something like that. Depending on who bets, we could go for a check raise, but I'm not really planning to check raise the pre-flop raiser, the pre-flop 3-better, based on the description. Especially once the small blind calls, I think it's better to call. We can put pressure by check raising here, but on this board, it just looks a lot like we would have a draw, and I don't think people at this level are likely folding an overpair to just a check raise. We are a little bit deep, but am I really gonna, check raise planning to barrel off? Not really. Not really at this level very often. So I like the check and I like the call. Definitely getting the right price, no question there. The turn is the queen of clubs. We actually pick up some of the equity that we had, so we've got more outs. Any 10 gives us a gut shot, hit the straight. Any heart gives us a flush. We check, which I think again is good. I don't really see a reason to lead here ever. The low jack now bets 120, and the small blind tanks and calls again. So 240 plus 200 in the pot roughly, so it's 440, and we have to call 120. We're getting almost 4-1, so we're definitely getting the right price. Plus there's a little money behind, and I do expect to get paid off when we hit the gut shot. Not necessarily when the flush comes in. Now in the river, we actually make the gut shot, and it's on us. I really, really prefer a lead here. I really prefer leading for at least the amount that the low jack has in their stack. If we don't believe he ever has ace king, he doesn't have any hands that beat us, and we are, probably going to get him to call off with almost his whole range if the range is accurate here, if it's basically jacks plus. So I don't really see any reason to check it over to him and give him the opportunity to check back kings or aces, which at this point, it's kind of a scary board for kings or aces, and I would much rather jam and get called by almost that whole range than check and let him sometimes check back. I definitely prefer leading, but checking is probably the play most people make most of the time, so I don't see it as like a horrible mistake. But I think you're definitely missing some value by not just leading yourself. The low jack does end up jamming for us. The small blind folds, and we obviously have an easy call with the second nuts. Low jack did have pocket jacks, so our hero is going to take it down in this one. This hand is from Bob from Belgium. So thanks, Bob, for taking the time to give me some additional content here. And if you guys want to send a hand to have me review, you can go ahead and send me a message on Instagram. It's probably the easiest way. You could also message me on Facebook. Both would be MEV Poker. And while you're at it, you may as well follow me on Twitter. I sometimes give some updates there in real time that don't make it to the vlog. So like where I'm playing, what room I'm at, stuff like that. MEV Poker also. Why don't you just go ahead and follow me all those places. If you like this video, leave a thumbs up and a comment telling me so that I know to kind of keep doing more of this style of thing. Or if you just prefer the regular vlogs, feel free to let me know that too. Don't forget to subscribe, share this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.